The public imagines global nuclear deterrence as a high-stakes drama in brightly lit situation rooms. They are utterly wrong. The reality of mutually assured destruction is infinitely colder, profoundly quieter, and defined by a crushing psychological isolation that deconstructs your existence. Welcome to the absolute zero of the military machine, the ultra-classified nuclear custody unit. This is an invisible architecture where human identity is a vulnerability and mechanical hesitation is treason. You are entering a deterministically perfect system designed to ensure human extinction functions flawlessly exactly once. It is a psychological meat grinder demanding absolute perfection in the shadows. You are about to experience the terrifying mental metamorphosis required to transition from a gatekeeper in a frozen wasteland up to the immoral conceptual endpoint who physically carries the doomsday codes. Your descent into the deterministic mechanism of global finality begins right now. Your erased existence begins in the desolation of a high-security boundary, designated as a perimeter security asset. You naively believe your mission is honorable, but you are quickly disabused of that illusion. You are the system's most disposable sensory nerve ending. Stripped of your identity and outfitted in dark ballistic gear, you silently patrol razor-wire fences in an unforgiving frozen tundra. You spend grueling 12-hour shifts staring into the abyss, guarding an unremarkable patch of concrete. You do not officially know what catastrophic weapon sleeps vertically in the silo beneath your boots, and you are conditioned to never ask. Your singular task is to ensure no unidentified physical presence ever breaches this sterilized perimeter. The lethal force protocols you execute are unbending. If a lost civilian hiker approaches and fails to instantly provide the complex cryptographic authentication, you do not fire a warning shot. You coldly eliminate the threat with suppressed automatic fire, leaving the body in the snow to protect the buried machine. You realize you are a replaceable human tripwire, trading your empathy for the suffocating adrenaline of surviving the machine's freezing shadows. Guarding the surface is merely a distraction from the claustrophobic reality buried beneath the permafrost, and your vigilance is about to pull you directly underground. Having survived the brutal meat grinder of the surface without losing your mind to the crushing isolation, but your raw reliability is instantly recognized. You are extracted from the freezing surface and elevated into the highly stressful technical nerve center of the organization, officially reclassified as a subterranean systems custodian. You are no longer an isolated trigger puller. You are the tactical mechanic of the absolutely impossible, deeply embedded within a terrifying reinforced concrete capsule suspended on massive industrial shock absorbers hundreds of meters below the earth. Total sensory deprivation becomes your new permanent reality. The natural sun is replaced by the unrelenting glare of artificial fluorescent lighting, and the wind is replaced by the deafening hum of massive atmospheric filtration systems. Your entire subterranean existence revolves around ensuring the invisible nuclear beast functions with perfect, terrifying predictability. You sit for days in dimly lit, cramped corridors, intensely monitoring obsolete analog monitors that track massive hydraulic fuel pressures and classified mechanical verification protocols. You obsessively scan dense technical schematics, physically maintaining the deterministically precise synchronization of vintage analog switching arrays and massive floppy disk drives that are permanently air-gapped from any external digital network to prevent cyber infiltration. You meticulously inspect the highly volatile, corrosive rocket fuel lines, knowing with absolute certainty that a single microscopic structural failure or a stray spark will instantly vaporize you and your entire team in a massive subterranean fireball long before the enemy ever launches a strike. The crushing weight of the earth above you is perfectly matched by the crushing psychological weight of maintaining a weapon specifically designed to murder millions of innocent civilians in a fraction of a second. You realize that true undeniable power in this invisible network does not come from pulling a trigger. It comes directly from the absolute ability to maintain an impossibly complex, deeply aging system with flawless mathematical precision in the dark. But mastering the ancient physical hardware is ultimately not enough, because the system absolutely demands a conditioned biological component genuinely capable of executing the unthinkable without a single moment of human hesitation. Your flawless execution of complex technical protocols and complete psychological submission to the subterranean isolation earns you a highly coveted, dangerous vertical promotion. You are extracted from the maintenance tunnels and strapped securely into the launch chairs, taking on the prestigious and psychologically devastating title of Missile Combat Crew Commander. You now operate entirely within the absolute inner sanctum of the buried capsule, separated from humanity by massive, multi-ton interlocking steel blast doors. You are no longer turning wrenches. You are holding the keys to the apocalypse. The terrifying concept of the two-person rule dominates every microscopic aspect of your waking life. You and your assigned deputy are locked inside this pressurized tomb for 24-hour shifts, wearing specialized flight suits and carrying loaded suppressed sidearms. You carry these weapons not to protect yourselves from enemy infiltrators, but to immediately and ruthlessly execute each other if either of you suffers a catastrophic mental break and attempts to sabotage the launch sequence or compromise the red safes bolted to the steel walls. These massive secure safes contain the classified authentication codes and the physical launch keys required to initiate Armageddon. Your daily existence is a terrifying, repetitive masterclass in psychological torture. You constantly practice receiving emergency action messages through heavily encrypted, deeply crackling, low-frequency radio channels. You painstakingly decode the complex alphanumeric sequences, constantly verifying the terrifying mathematically precise launch coordinates of distant, heavily populated enemy cities you have never seen. You simultaneously insert the heavy keys into the analog control panels, practicing the synchronized, deeply chilling mechanical turn that would instantly send massive multi-megaton intercontinental ballistic missiles screaming out of their silos, effectively ending human civilization in precisely 30 minutes. At this high-pressure level, you experience a profound emotional detachment from the reality of human suffering. You actively train your fragile brain to view the guaranteed catastrophic incineration of millions of innocent men, women, and children not as an unspeakable moral atrocity, but simply as the flawless execution of a complex operational checklist. You have become the ultimate unfeeling trigger of the machine, but you realize that you do not actually choose the populated targets you are preparing to destroy. You simply execute the cold mathematical will of the architects hovering far above you. Having definitively proven your unshakable willingness to initiate global annihilation without a fraction of a second of human hesitation, you are finally extracted from the claustrophobic tomb and elevated directly to the ultra-classified, highly strategic heavens. You officially become a strategic targeting liaison, operating entirely out of massive, technologically impenetrable command bunkers buried deep within impenetrable mountain ranges. You have completely transcended the physical handling of launch keys and archaic analog systems. You are now the sophisticated, ruthless architect of global catastrophe. You no longer practice launching missiles. You now actively, coldly calculate exactly who is going to burn. You sit in highly secure subterranean amphitheaters surrounded by massive, glowing holographic global maps and highly advanced supercomputers, surrounded by untouchable political advisors, deeply compromised generals, and brilliant sociopathic civilian mathematicians. Your daily existence is an incredibly complex masterclass in the absolute weaponization of demographic data and atmospheric physics. You actively author and constantly refine the single integrated operational plan, the classified grand strategic blueprint for a coordinated global nuclear strike. You expertly utilize incredibly complex algorithms to calculate exact megatonnage requirements, highly specific blast radiuses, and complex, unpredictable atmospheric radioactive fallout patterns. You meticulously target specific, incredibly dense civilian population centers, Massive industrial manufacturing hubs and vital global agricultural sectors, deliberately engineering a strike perfectly designed to completely starve a targeted sovereign nation into absolute submission and collapse their entire societal infrastructure within 72 hours. You absolutely do not view vibrant enemy capitals as places of human culture and history. You strictly view them as highly dense data points and mathematically acceptable civilian casualty ratios on a massive glowing digital spreadsheet. You have irreversibly detached from the fundamental concepts of human empathy and basic morality, realizing with chilling clarity that the highly publicized concepts of global peace and diplomatic deterrence are merely fragile, comforting illusions meticulously maintained solely to pacify the ignorant masses. The actual violent trajectory of human history is ruthlessly dictated entirely by an incredibly tiny, unelected cabal of men exactly like you, calmly calculating the end of the world while drinking premium black coffee. But all the brilliant strategic planning and devastating targeting matrices are completely useless without the final secure physical authentication of the sovereign executive authority. Finally, after decades of relentlessly surviving the crushing psychological weight of the machine and perfectly mastering the chilling mathematics of mutually assured destruction, you reach the terrifying zenith of the unacknowledged global hierarchy. You are officially the primary custodian, universally known among the ultimate elite simply as the Red Buttonholder. You are the permanent, completely invisible shadow of the commander-in-chief. You no longer operate in desolate, freezing deserts, cramped subterranean capsules, or deeply buried mountain bunkers. You walk directly in the blinding, publicized sunlight of the global political stage, yet you remain completely invisible to the ignorant public. You are seamlessly embedded within the presidential motorcade, silently standing in the immediate background of televised global diplomatic summits, and sleeping in an unmarked, highly secure room directly down the hall from the Oval Office. Your entire terrifying existence revolves entirely around a heavily modified secure black leather satchel permanently handcuffed to your physical wrist. Inside this unassuming briefcase lies the highly secure portable satellite communication arrays and the physical sealed cryptographic authentication cards required to immediately and undeniably verify the true identity of the sitting president and instantly transmit the catastrophic, irreversible final strike order directly to the silent waiting silos buried across the country. You carry the ultimate devastating burden of human extinction, not with heroic publicized sacrifice, but with cold, terrifying mathematical acceptance. You must remain completely awake, entirely sober, and highly alert 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, possessing the unquestioned capacity to instantly facilitate the end of the world in the incredibly chaotic, deeply confusing 4 minutes following a confirmed enemy launch detection. You realize with crushing dread that you are the absolute final human. Fail-safe. The last terrified breath of humanity standing securely between the terrifyingly perfect, deterministic machine and the total unyielding fire of the apocalypse. You are not a soldier. You are the physical manifestation of the apocalypse itself, walking quietly among the living. Stay tuned, because the devastating reality of how these highly classified fragile launch protocols are shockingly vulnerable to microscopic technical glitches and the rapidly evolving threat of autonomous artificial intelligence is about to be completely exposed, revealing how your daily existence balances perfectly on a razor's edge of total annihilation.